You're still younger than me, so don't worry.
He's younger than both of us.
A day I want to forget, my birthday.
Yes. You're welcome.
Too many events that I do with Craig, and I've been doing with all of you for many, many, many years. It's a lot of fun. I always joke that I was elected by 85% and re-elected by close to 80%, but among the realty community, I'm at 99%.
Totally.
But I was a real estate lawyer for many, many years, and I got to interact with a lot of you, and I know the business. And I think I'm so in awe of what you do, because there are very, very few professions that work as hard as realtors. You guys are out there marketing the city globally at your expense, and we're grateful for that. I mean, I don't think Miamians completely understand that there are a incredibly aggressive, smart, well-intentioned, good-looking group of people out there that are traveling the world on their behalf at their own cost to market their ecosystem in their city. So for me, I feel it's my duty to be here to arm you with the arguments and the statistics and the narrative that you can use to sell our city. And I'm just very grateful for all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Incorporated into the analysis, because it would completely skew the numbers, right? So I just want you guys to know things like that, because I think they're really relevant. But to answer the question, because I didn't answer the question, Miami is mayor proof. Miami is mayor proof, right? Miami, I feel like I've done a good job. I hope you guys agree.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I've given you my heart, my soul, every fiber of my being. I care about this city in a way that is deep, and I think about you guys every day when I get up in the morning and think about how do we create an ecosystem where everybody can be prosperous, and that's all well and good. But the fact of the matter is, if the next person that comes doesn't do any of that, we're still going to be fine.
Amen.
We're still going to be fine, because Miami is so resilient in terms of a city, and not every mayor just even in my lifetime, has been someone who's focused on growing our city and projecting our city outward, and we still grow nevertheless.
Amen. No, I love that you said we're bear-proof.
There was a story about our city that wasn't very flattering. They said there were a lot of condos for sale, and that it was a 10-year supply. Take your time. Well, suddenly we can't sell real estate without some sense of urgency. And when the New York Times says 10 years, take your time, tenemos uno problema, okay? And even I know that, I'm from New Jersey. So I
Anecdotes from the past to ignore about it. So when I got elected, or just before I got elected, the total value of all real estate in Miami, and Craig loves it when I, come up with these cool statistics.
I use them, that's why.
I know you do. So the total value of all real property about 10 years ago was $40 billion. If you look at in 2022, that number was $72.9 billion, according to the Real Deal. In 2023, that number was $84.2 billion. And from 24 to 25, that number went up to $135.9 billion, right?
Wow.
So you're talking about 11% growth, 15 to 16% growth, and 9.5% year-over-year growth. And there's a lot of talk about Miami being expensive. I hear this a lot. I hear this all the time, and I'm not here to argue that it's not. Right? Miami is a place that people want to live in. Ken Griffin once said we have what he called the problems of prosperity. Right? People want to be here. And I have a good friend who's a mayor of a city in the Midwest. I won't say who, because every time I say it, he calls me and he gets mad at me. And he says, man, I wish I had your problems. I have too much affordable housing because people don't want to live in my city. So my city's too affordable because it's not desirable. So we have the opposite problem. But I just saw a statistic that I don't know if anybody here has fully understood. It's the first time I ever saw it. And frankly, I was literally here at a coffee shop because I came a little early, which is unusual that I'm ahead of schedule. And I saw this, that Miami is number one in the nation for homes without a mortgage. Did you guys see that statistic? 45% of homes do not have a mortgage in Miami. And I guarantee you that when they calculate the statistics of us being cost burdened and too expensive to live in that they conveniently do not factor that 45%. Because if half the houses don't have a mortgage, then for half the people, it's literally zero to live in their home, right? Other than the taxes and the insurance, as we know, they're probably too high. Although we've lowered them every year. But those are the kinds of things that when you see these statistics, you know, there are people every day. You guys are branding our city. You're going out there and I'm sorry for monopolizing.
No.
You guys are branding our city. You guys are out there selling our city. And you need to, as Craig would say, you need to be armed with the statistics and the arguments, because there are people, unfortunately, that are trying to do the opposite of what you guys are trying to do. They're trying to counter-brand our city. They're trying to say that our city's going to be underwater. They're trying to say that our city's too expensive.
Hell, today's the 7th of October. I need another week to finish all the data, but I'm going to give you early plans. So, Carolina, this is very interesting because this is so much influenced by Mayor Suarez's work. From 2020 to 25, 70% of all the condo sales in Brickell, I'm not talking about St. Regis on the Bay, I'm not talking about the Mandarin Oriental, I'm talking about Brickell proper. Our condos between 500,000 and 2 million. Interesting, huh? What this tells me, and 30% are above 2 million. And in fact, they're selling. What's available for sale a year ago, look at this, October 2024, these are condos less than 10 years old. We all know that condos over 30 years old are not real popular today because of special assessments. We're not going to talk about that today. A lot of people that are coming to Miami ask the realtors, take me someplace new. Higher ceilings inside the units, more modern amenities, etc. Well, a year ago, you had 571 of these to show your buyers in Brickell. Today, there's 316. So anyway, you built here at Viceroy are condos that mostly sell between 600,000 and 2 million. What you developed here, related, is this. Of all the purchases, 60% were from US. Before 2020, it was 25%. I was selling Reach and Rise across the street for Swire in those days. How did it jump? Because of him. Why him? Mayor Suarez in 2020 was on a plane when a lot of us were in quarantine, crisscrossed the US. And he's convinced over 240 Fortune 400 and Fortune 500 companies to relocate to South Florida, specifically Miami, and more specifically Brickell. The difference between 25 and 60% are young people coming with these companies that can afford a condo from 500,000 to 2 million. And that's what's changed the profile, and it's clearly influenced the statistics of the Brickell market. You just happen to be building the perfect product at the perfect time. But all of this is a result.
What you do.
But all of this is a result of Mayor Francis Suarez. So that's, now, let's go to this. This doesn't play very loudly, so I'll interpret it for you. I encourage all of you to go home whenever you can, go on YouTube, CNBC, and see this interview by George Perez, the chairman of the board related, the developer of Viceroy. It was back, I think, in April or May. He was interviewed by CNBC, and they were asked about the Miami market. He said, listen, I'm here 50 years. Now, who knows better than George Perez? He's been here for 50 years. He used to work in the planning department with Sonia Figueroa in the city of Miami, and I think he figured out if those bozos can build, watch what I can do. And 50 years later, the biggest developer, not just in Florida, perhaps the largest developer of condominiums in the United States. In this interview, he refers to Miami as a roller coaster. I wasn't crazy about the roller coaster metaphor. However, he was right, because we do have our ups and downs, and interest rates got in the way of things. But what he said was, when the roller coaster goes down, the next up has always been higher than the previous cycle. What he was basically saying is when this market comes back up, you think prices are high now, they're gonna up a little bit. Next slide shows condos above 3 to 10. From January to September last year, collectively we sold 330 in the Tri-County area. Nearly doubled it this year, nearly doubled it. Again, people keep moving to Florida, chasing these companies that decide to relocate to South Florida, because he once said in 2020, 10 million, what you have now, 796. So what we have is, it looks like the roller coaster is going back up based on, this is January through September of last year, January to September through this year. Well, look at inventory. Way down. So the slide up in velocity kind of suggests the roller coaster is going back up. What you're seeing statistically is inventory dropping. And your friend Craig is telling you this year versus last year. High mortgage rates just doesn't seem to matter.
That's a technical term,
We're
by the way,
selling
guys.
this is existing inventory, obviously. But I learned something from Carolina Gertz, who runs the Related Realty resale company for me. She taught me something. I work with Gary Ernandes a lot. I get to work with Sonia and Dan, and we're watching real estate sales on all brick construction projects starting to pick up. And again, a lot of it has to do with Mayor Suarez. The next slide, I think, talks about they measure people moving out of the state the same way. Let me get out of everybody's way. Then they measure births, and then they subtract deaths. And for the longest time, it was 1,000 a day. Until last year, Florida hit a record of 1,280 people per day that was only surpassed by this year. This is per the U.S. Census Bureau. You're growing by 1,350 people a day. The only state that's bigger than you is Texas. And please remember, the land mass of Texas is 4 times Florida. They can fit a lot of people in Texas. What they don't have is a peninsula surrounded by water. What they don't have is Mayor Francis Suarez. And they're putting money into the city. And I've never seen that until this guy entered the movie. So there you go.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
All right. Coming back to you, Mayor. This was
Report of parent. Okay? No, but I think what's interesting for you all to understand, because when Craig talks about how do these movements occur, what do I focus on to make these movements occur? Right? I focus on the macro, right? So people often ask me, in fact, they ask me almost every single day, national news outlets will ask me. We just had a Newsweek article that came out yesterday. I got an interview for Bloomberg yesterday as well. That will be coming out in a few days. And you should see the Newsweek article. In fact, somebody from my staff, if you can tell me what the Newsweek article's headline was. It was actually a cool headline, whoever can figure it out. But the people ask me all the time, what's the secret? What's the secret? How'd you do it? And the answer is simple. We do 3 things, and only 3 things, and we do them very well. What do we do? Number 1, we keep taxes low. So we don't have a state income tax, which benefits us to the tune of double digits in comparison with some of our competitors like New York and Illinois and California. We lowered the millage rate, which is the tax rate that the city controls. We don't control the value, we control the tax rate. I don't control how much money you make, but I control how much I tax you in terms of percentage. I lowered that rate to the lowest level ever, and then I kept lowering it every year. So not only are we asking for less from you, but we're projecting to the world and to the country that if you come here, we're gonna value you. What happened in New York? They competed for the Amazon HQ2 prize. They won the prize. 50,000 high-paying jobs. The people that are buying those condos between $500,000 and $2 million. If you're working for Amazon and you're 50,000 people, how many condos are you going to sell to those people? A lot of condos. Tens of thousands of condos.
Did you happen to know that's our price range?
What's that?
Did you know that's Viceroy's price range?
Well, he just said it. Yeah.
He was paying attention.
Yeah, I was paying attention. I was actually very
It's a
much.
sweet spot.
I'm always the sweet spot, 70% of sales. So the point is that's 50,000 unsold condos, but it's more important than that. Why is it more important than that? Craig will tell you why it's more important. Because it's the signal. The signal is, you're a $1 trillion company. You're gonna create a headquarters in our community. You're gonna create 50,000 high-paying jobs. We don't want you. So it's not just Amazon that doesn't come. What other company afterwards said, you know what, I'm not even gonna try to go to New York. We don't know. We don't know what the macro effect of the wrong signal is. All we know is we continue to prosper. Why? Our signal was the opposite. It's what Craig said. Somebody put out a tweet that said, what if we move Silicon Valley to Miami? And I responded, how can I help? It's a different signal.
Very different.
The signal is, we want you, we need you, you're part of our success, you're part of our prosperity. We certainly wouldn't mind you buying condos in the $500,000 to $2 million range as well. We want you to create jobs for our kids. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. We know the world is changing rapidly. We know the world is more dynamic than ever. We know
Miami-Dade and Broward County, just to satisfy the population gains. Because remember, we're bracketed by the Atlantic Ocean to the east and Everglades to the west. We have no choice but to go up to accommodate future growth. And up, well, 75% of these 15,000 are condos that are trading above $3 million. The developers are targeting that market because they know that's how the wealth profile has shifted here in South Florida. We're getting wealthy people from around the world. And let's not forget how the tax laws are written in the United States. You live in Chicago, you live in Los Angeles, you sell your principal home, and you move to Miami. You take the capital gain from the sale of your home and you put it into your new home in Miami. It's part of the reason there's so much cash, there's so much equity in these new homes. This is how partly this has influenced the thinking of real estate developers. We're not building enough. This most important contest every 4 years is the World Cup, and they're coming to Miami for the first time. And for the very first time, the 20 most important industrialized countries in the world, the G20.
Incorporated in 1896, so we're coming up on our 130th birthday next year in 2026. And yet, Miami had never had a Miami-born mayor. We had never produced a mayor that was born in the city in its history. So until I became mayor, and I was also the son of a mayor. So I had a dual sort of advantage. One, I was a product of the city. 70% of Miamians, correct, you love statistics, 70% of Miamians were not born in Miami. I'm gonna prove that statistic right now. Now, I'm gonna define what it means to be born.